Okay, so I'm not talking on behalf of every single chronic condition out there, but when it comes to the likes of POTS, dysautonomia, long COVID, chronic fatigue syndrome, ME, post-concussion syndrome, I believe there are some real key similarities and overlaps within these conditions, and that anybody who's living with any of them has a real chance of living a far less symptomatic life than they currently are. But unlike virtually everyone else out on the internet who's telling you that recovery is easy and straightforward and requires very minimal effort on your behalf, I'm here to flip the script and deliver the bad news, and that is that if you are serious about making long-term improvements, there's definitely some work that you need to put in on your end of things. In my personal experience, this was a 3-step process that firstly involved having a more basic understanding about how the human body works, and in particular certain neuronal pathways and their impact on our all-round function, and how if we end up with certain dysfunctions or breakdowns within these neuronal pathways, it can then go on to lead to serious health complications. The second step involves going to see a trained professional, and in my case this was a chiropractic neurologist, and this individual should be able to assess the function of these neuronal pathways and identify any dysfunctions within them so that they can tell you whether you have areas of hyper or hypoactivity within your brain and nervous system, and then prescribe you with targeted neurological exercises to actually correct these dysfunctions. And the third and final step is an ongoing process where, alongside continuing to perform these targeted neurological exercises, your aim should be that you want to live more in line with how a healthy human being lives. And in order to do that, you have to gradually build up your tolerance and capacity to everyday stressors. And the way you achieve that is through progressive physical activity and gradual exposure to new environments. And so what I'm getting at is that the whole recovery process is in fact an active process and requires your full commitment. And it isn't something that you can just shortcut with a substance, a pill, a supplement, a diet change, a mindset shift. It's a full thing that requires your full commitment. That is, of course, if you are serious about achieving long-term results. It's a little bit like a sedentary person suddenly waking up one day and believe that they can run a 25-mile marathon without any prior training. It just isn't viable to believe that this is possible. And this is the same when it comes to the recovery process. The fact of the matter is that so many people out there living with these debilitating chronic conditions want far too much, far too soon. It was only once I took this very measured approach and invested my all into it that I started to notice significant symptomatic improvements and lasting results when it came to increased energy levels. And what was far more important to me than anything is the fact that these results actually held. Now, if you are somebody who'd like to fast track your way through part 1 of this 3-step process, then I strongly consider checking out the Unbeatable Blueprint online course. I've made this course so that I can metaphorically transfer my brain into your head by condensing complex literature into an easily digestible format so that you're able to have the best chance of being on the right pathway when it comes to long-term recovery. Because you see, there are a lot of people out there who claim to have fully recovered from these conditions, which, by the way, is a fantastic thing to hear. However, the one thing that I believe a lot of these people have in common is I believe a lot of them aren't aware and they don't have the knowledge of what was actually wrong with their body in the first place and where that dysfunction was and how that was contributing to the vast majority of symptoms that they were actually experiencing. And once you're able to obtain this information via extensive neurological testing, it should really put your mind at rest, because not only will you understand the origin of why your symptoms continue to manifest, but you'll also understand the location of the dysfunction so that you can attack it directly with tailored neurological exercises. And the beauty of this all is that you should be able to see improvement both clinically and in the way you feel. And one problem that I'm observing time and time again within the chronic illness community is that people are clearly paying a big interest in trying to recover, But the problem is that they're doing it with approaches that just don't have very much structure to them. And as a result, these people are jumping from one thing to another in hope that something will just provide them with lasting results. And I was in this position myself for over 7 years, so I completely understand the frustration from a first-hand point of view, having to invest so much time, energy and money and physical and mental capacity into a solution, only for you to have to ditch that same solution just a few weeks later because it offered you nothing beneficial. But fortunately for me, I did manage to find a way out of this. And not only did it offer me a substantially better quality of life, but it also freed up a lot of headspace because I was no longer dealing with the frustration of frantically researching and experimenting with all these separate health modalities. And it's all because I followed this exact 3-step process.